Sorry. What's going on, guys? It's Ben here once again. We're going to do a little cooking today, a little more baking this time, I guess you would say, not cooking. How can you make a better sandwich at home? The real answer is just to make your own bread. And I know not everybody has a KitchenAid stand mixer or any kind of stand mixer, really. You can do it by hand. I'll go over with how to do it. I'm not going to do it personally because I do have a stand mixer. But let's get it off the table. All right, so we're going to start with 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 cup of warmed water to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and 1/4 cup of whole milk, also to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Realize that you do not have a whisk and start rummaging through your utensils drawer, realizing you're on camera and you look pretty stupid at this point. Once you find your whisk, go ahead and gently mix your mixture together, allowing it to set in and let it rest for 5 minutes. Now that our 5 minutes has passed, we'll begin to see our yeast beginning to bloom in our water and milk mixture. Now you'll see a nice little foamy consistency on top, and that's what you're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and add our 1.5 teaspoons of salt into our mixture, and then 4 tablespoons of room temperature butter as well. So at this point, we're going to break out our flour. You're going to need about 3 1/4 cups of bread flour, but you want to measure that out because it can vary vastly depending on weight and volume. So you want to get about 406 grams, and we're mixing that in 1 cup at a time. And so you'll slowly start to see it come together, scrape the sides, and get ready to add your next cup. So your next cup goes in, and it's going to start looking really raggedy as that cup goes in. It's going to look like it's tearing. It's looking like you're over kneading and you're working too much, but just keep it going, and it will begin to come together into a nice smooth dough. Now that the dough has come together, lightly flour your work surface. Take the dough out, and this is how you'll knead it together if you do not have a stand mixer. Just folding it over into itself over and over again until it gets a nice smooth consistency. Now we're going to form it into a ball so we can get ready to add into our mixing bowl or for it to rest. So over and over again, spin it into itself until it gets a nice tight ball, and then put some olive oil inside of a bowl so nothing sticks. Just making sure every little corner is covered, and then just wait for it. Now that your dough is resting in a nice oiled bowl, cover with saran wrap. Slowly, by pulling it off the other side, you tighten over and over again until it just looks right. Then you'll check it, and it won't be right. You'll eventually get there. You want to let it rest for about an hour or two, or at least until it doubles in size. Now that your dough is doubled in size, and magically switch bowls, go ahead and give it a nice little punch to degas it. Really just let your frustrations out on the dough. Set it aside while you lightly flour your work surface. Go ahead and dump out your dough and begin to shape your loaf. You'll shape your loaf by flattening it out, trying to get an uniformity across the board, make it easier with your rolling pin. Now don't use your rolling pin too much. You want about a 1/2 inch thickness, and the width should be about the same as your loaf pan. So go ahead and do a tight roll, folding it onto itself, and you'll hear it degas as it does this. This is air releasing, and it's normal, and it's what you want. Make sure you tuck your ends in because you don't want any blowouts while it's baking. Place your newly formed loaf to the side while you prepare your baking pan. Take about a 1/2 tablespoon of butter and smear it all the way around. This will not only give the bread flavor, but also prevent it from sticking while it cooks. Now take your loaf and gently place it into the baking pan and get it prepared for its final rise. Place a cloth over top of it and let it sit for 45 minutes. During this time, make sure to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. 45 minutes has finally passed, and you're finally ready to bake the dough and make it bread. Take a good look at it, and you're going to place it in the 350 degree oven for 30 to 35 minutes. Now that our bread's ready to come out of the oven, we're going to go ahead and coat it with some butter. This will prevent it from drying out. Let it rest inside the tin for at least 10 more minutes. Let's start with the B in BLT. If you're not baking, you're baking in the oven, you're doing it wrong. Stop using the frying pan. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Line a baking sheet with it. Cook it for 15 to 25 minutes depending on how crispy you like it, and move on to other things. All right, let's move on to our L and our T, starting with our T. Go ahead and cut them into the size that you would like personally. Spread them on somewhere and make sure you salt your tomatoes before letting them rest. Always salt your tomatoes. Have fun with the lettuce, throw it around, have a good time. It's been a long day making bread. Make sure you take off the wilted pieces and cut the core off the bottom and slice it into, once again, your desired thickness. I like it a little thicker because I like a nice little crunch. Go ahead and take your bread out of the loaf pan, and this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Go ahead and cut it, preferably not at an angle like I just did. You want to go straight down, but look at that crust. Now the bacon's coming out of the oven and you can just see the crispiness. The excess fat has dripped off to the bottom, but there's still some liquid fat still on top. Make sure you take a paper towel to soak all of that off. Don't want to eat our unhealthy food even more unhealthy. Now we need to make 2 slices of bread. So go ahead and cut it to your desired thickness. I'm going to do it a little cattywampus here and cut one thicker than the other, but it's not always as easy as you think. So go ahead and plug your toaster up. Before we can assemble our sandwich, we need to toast our bread. Now, as all of you know, toasting your bread has a dual-pronged effect. One, it gives you a nice crisp crunch. Secondly, your mayonnaise doesn't soak into your bread. So for BLT, I always take some Duke's mayonnaise and smear it on both sides. Then first, do the lettuce, then the tomato, and then finally, the bacon on top of the tomato. The tomato goes in the middle, so once again, doesn't make your sandwich soggy. Go ahead and assemble, cut, and let's have a look. Gorgeous, huh? Like previously stated, like I stated earlier, the only way to make a sandwich better is to make your own bread. We'll see how it tastes. Now, the crispness you get from the toasting of the bread is just one of those things you can never quite get. So let's get it off my table and into yours. What are we still doing here? I guess if you want to hang around, you could watch another video. Should be around this area. Or you could like, comment, and subscribe and see when we upload new ones. Or I guess you could just keep watching if you want.